Klein, who will be introducing our moderator for the next panel. Nick is Executive Director, Virginia Market Executive, Chase Middle Market Banking for Jpmorgan Securities. Jpmorgan Chase launched its Military and Veterans Affairs team in 2011, which has had a significant impact on veteran employment, access to capital, military communities, and a shared commitment among industry leaders to continue these efforts. Highlights of the Jpmorgan Chase MVA team include, just a few stats for you all, nearly 15,000 veterans and service members hired across all JPMC lines of business since 2011. 15,000 veterans and service members. More than 500,000 veterans hired by 200 plus members of the Veteran Jobs Mission, which is an employer coalition led by Jpmorgan Chase, with the ultimate goal of hiring 1 million veterans. 1 million. Nearly 30,000 participants enrolled in Onward to Opportunity, which is a free career training, certification, and employment program of the Institute of Veteran and Military Families at Syracuse University, initiated and supported also by Jpmorgan Chase. Over $8 million in investing to support veteran-owned small businesses through access to capital and incubator efforts. And more than 1,000 mortgage-free homes awarded, an investment of more than $185 million, 12 of those right here in Virginia, awarded to military families through the nonprofit partners as part of the firm's Military Home Awards program. So with that, and with all of that effort and work, please join me in welcoming Nick Klein of Jpmorgan Chase.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you. As Charlie noted, we are fully committed to the veterans and military families, not just in Virginia, but throughout the country. And we're pleased to be a member of the Virginia Chamber's Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. Through the Executive Committee, we look forward to helping advance the goals in Blueprint Virginia 2025, designed to support the military community living throughout the Commonwealth. As you may know, the Executive Committee brings together the business community to join forces with military and state leaders to expand opportunities for careers for both veterans and spouses. And the spouses is what we have the emphasis on today. And I'd also like to echo Charlie's acknowledgement of Mike Mello's leadership of the Executive Committee, who has really worked tirelessly to get the committee off the ground in support of Blueprint 2025. And now, as we transition to our next panel discussion, I am honored to introduce the Deputy Commissioner of the Virginia Department of Veteran Services, Annie Walker. Mrs. Walker is an 18-year employee of the Commonwealth of Virginia, and in her current role as Deputy Commissioner, she provides strategic management and oversight of veterans education, training, and employment programs. Mrs. Walker is a retired veteran from the United States Army. During her military career, she served as Pershing Missile Electronics Materials Specialist, a fire control instrument repairer, multiple launch rocket systems repair, and a unit supply specialist. Her last duty assignment was at Fort Lee, where she leveraged her calm and genteel spirit as a drill sergeant.
I'm scared now. That's awesome.
Mrs. Walker ended her military career in 1997 as director for the Instructor Development Course at the United States Army Quartermaster Center and School, where she was awarded the Distinguished Instructor Award. Mrs. Walker is also active on a national level and currently serves as president of the National Association of State Approving Agencies. Deputy Commissioner Walker has a BS in Vocational Education and a Master's of Business Administration. Please join me in welcoming Annie Walker.
Thank you so much, Nick, and good morning to all of you. And hopefully everyone took advantage of the networking break and took advantage of meeting someone new that you did not know yesterday. That's the purpose of our networking breaks. So as we continue to discuss how we can empower Virginia's military families through our strong communities, I would like to welcome our Bringing Military Talent into Communities Across the Commonwealth panel members. Their bios are in the booklet in front of you, so I will ask each of our panel members to briefly just tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Charlie Miles. I'm the Director of Military and College Employment Programs at PenFed. My mission is to empower members of the military community to connect with meaningful careers through career readiness training and advocacy. I've been in the military employment space for about 7 years now, since my retirement from the Marine Corps in 2012. I spent about 20 years in the Marine Corps flying in C-130s. I'm happy to say I logged the same number of landings as takeoffs during the course of my career. And I'm happy to be here to talk to you today about the how of military employment. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Darius Johnson. I'm Vice President for Employee Engagement and Development at Dominion Energy, which includes responsibility for our talent acquisition efforts at the company. And so I get to wake up every day thinking about how we attract, develop, and retain talent at Dominion Energy, and a huge focus of that is on military hiring. And I'm very excited to be here today because we value our opportunity to engage with veterans in all parts of our business. Although I am not a veteran myself, my father is a Vietnam veteran, and so by default, I grew up with a drill sergeant myself. And so I can identify, have a tremendous amount of respect and admiration for those valiant men and women who serve our country on a daily basis. So thank you for having me.
My name is Keith Wilson. I'm a United States Army soldier. I'm also a spouse of a military spouse. I work with the Army's Soldier for Life program based out of Washington, D.C. We do outreach on behalf of the Army. So we work with organizations, governmental, non-governmental, for-profit, non-profit, private, public, to expand or establish programs, services, resources that support our soldiers, our service members, our veterans, and our families. I'm responsible for the Northeast U.S., so I have Virginia, West Virginia, and then up to Maine, as well as the European continent.
Good morning. My name is Dave Zolet. I'm President and CEO of LMI, which is a government consulting organization focused on the Department of Defense as well as the Department of Homeland Security. As President and CEO, my job is to get out of the way of the great men and women that are making a difference for our customers every day. We are an organization that employs about a third of our workforce is vets and spouses. So we're very proud of that and very proud to be here. So thank you all.
Good morning, everybody. I think we have a 50-50 split up here of sea service representatives and Army. My name is Charles Rock. I have the privilege of supporting Navy bases and Navy facilities on the eastern half of the United States, and that support ranges from the typical functions you think of in running our Navy installations, such as airfields and ports, but also all the support services, whether that be housing, fitness, child care, and of course transition assistance to not only our spouses, but our active duty service members who are transitioning. So thanks for having me this morning.
Great. So thank you so much, gentlemen. Before we get started, I would like to give you just a little nugget to kind of think about and kind of mull over it during our discussion. On my nightstand, I have the DoD military separation data that I use for my nightly reading. And it stated that over 250,000 service members will be projected to separate from the military in 2019. Now, we do know that in 2018, that there were 9,000 separating service members that made that wise decision to make Virginia their home. So now we do know in 2019, it is projected that out of those 250,000 separating, 21,000 will separate from our installations here in Virginia. So let's think about that third rule. We know that we've already captured that 1/3 of that 21,000 approximately, with the 9,000 that we know will approximately separate. We have that 1/3 that we know will go back to their home of record or transition to, another state. Then there's that 1/3, a little over 9,000 again, that have not made up their mind where they want to go. So that's our low-hanging fruit. So in addition to retaining the veterans in Virginia and retaining them in our Virginia companies, I would like for you to keep in your thought bubble, how do we also capture that 1/3 that have not made a decision where they want to transition and make their life, and that other 1/3 that transitioned to North Carolina that we need to bring them back. So with that, we want to keep them in mind on how do we incorporate them into our talent pool. So we already know Virginia is second to none in hiring veterans and their spouses and helping them transition into the civilian sector. Our corporate leaders understand that tremendous value and talent that veterans bring to their companies. I'd like to kick off our discussion by learning more on how our panelist companies recruit and support our military members. So Darius, you're up.
Okay.
Why are veterans generally a cultural fit with Dominion Energy, and how do you go about recruiting veterans?
So I have a very complicated answer to the first part of that question, and the complicated answer is because they're awesome. They're awesome, quite frankly. We feel that veterans are great at many things. They're really good problem solvers, for one. And we are in a very dynamic marketplace at Dominion Energy. Things are changing constantly. And so we need people who are not unafraid, or people who are unafraid to embrace a challenge. And we feel that veterans embody that. Also, we know that veterans persevere through difficult circumstances. And again, we need people who not only survive challenging times, but thrive during them. And we think that veterans, again, embody that spirit, and they're used to those situations where they have to thrive in difficult circumstances. We also heard from Kathy earlier, she stole my thunder on this point, that veterans are accustomed to working in diverse groups. They're accustomed to leading diverse teams. And at Dominion Energy, we know that for our long-term sustainability, it's imperative that we have leaders and people who are individual contributors who are comfortable functioning in a diverse team, because for our sustainability long-term, we need to make sure that we have a diverse customer base, we need to make sure we have diverse leadership, and we know that veterans understand that more than anybody. We also know that veterans are tremendously civic-minded. And Dominion Energy is a public service company, and by our very nature, we really appreciate the opportunity to serve our communities, whether it's through providing electricity or through community service. We know our veterans can identify with that mission, which brings me to that. They're very mission-oriented. Veterans are extremely mission-oriented, and at Dominion Energy, we feel that same passion about providing a critical resource to the community, electricity, or when a storm happens, restoring electricity or providing energy. And so we think veterans identify with that culture, and so they help us to enhance the culture. And then lastly, veterans are extremely safety conscious. And at Dominion Energy, we have core values, number one of which is safety. And we believe that veterans obviously can identify. The other core values are ethics, excellence, teamwork essentially, and embracing change. And again, all of those values align very well with what veterans are taught and how they live and behave and act. In terms of how we go about recruiting, like anything, it starts with leadership. It starts at the top. Our CEO, Tom Farrell, is from a military family. And back in 2011, he, along with 5 or 6 other leaders of large energy companies, came together to form through the Edison Electric Institute, which is an industry trade association, in conjunction with the Center for Energy Workforce Development, another trade organization, came together to form the Troops to Energy job program. It's basically a national framework for best practices in how to recruit and retain veterans. And since 2011, Dominion Energy has hired 1 in 5 of our new employees have been veterans since this commitment. And our overall workforce is over 10% veterans. So we've demonstrated that because of the leadership that we know we have in Tom Farrell. Now, in terms of boots on the ground, to make it happen, we have made a tremendous investment in those resources as well. We have 2 dedicated sourcing specialists who focus on military recruiting. They happen to be here today. Matt Kellum, where's Matt? And Sadiq Holliday, where's Sadiq? He's here somewhere, there he is. They do an excellent job, and hopefully you all know them. They do an excellent job of keeping us connected to transition offices, veterans reps, programs like these. They make sure that we're investing in the right places to get the best talent. But we know that given that we're nearly 20,000 employees strong across 18 states, that we can't leave it to 2 people. And so all of our talent acquisition team has gone through a certification program through the Society of Human Resource Management that both Matt and Sadiq have helped to curate and to deliver, which teaches our recruiters who, like me, may be civilians about leadership equivalency, military occupation specialties, and just understanding military culture so that they can relate to a job seeker who is a veteran. We also realize the importance of how we present to the community from a brand perspective. And so we're very sensitive to making sure that we have military-friendly images, that whenever we go places, we are able to be seen as military-friendly. If you go to our website, we have our careers website, we have that imagery, but we also have specific tools that help individuals who may be transitioning from the military understand how their experience can translate directly into jobs that we have available. And I don't know if anyone is familiar with it, but we have a tool called the Military Skills Translator, which literally you can plug in your MOS and it can spit out on the other side specific jobs within Dominion Energy that you would be qualified for. And likewise, our recruiters can input information about our jobs, and it will then in turn spit out the MOSs that correspond with those jobs. So we're very intentional about making sure that we continue to build upon the successes we've already realized in recruiting veterans, because we know for the sustainability of our company it's imperative.
Mm-hmm. So Darius, you brought up a lot of points, and so Dominion Energy is in the energy sector, correct?
Yes.
So then when we talk about the versatility of veterans, Charlie, I want to point to you now for the banking industry. So what is the most impactful element in PenFed's military hiring program?
Well, once you have the commitment of leadership to have a program, there's a lot of elements that go into a military employment program, and please feel free to connect with me after this event. I can share with you our entire military employment framework. But I think it's a two-part or twofold solution. One, you need to have a dedicated military hiring resource. We have, and they should be a veteran or a military spouse, or in our case, both. Our military recruiting lead is a veteran and military spouse, Miranda Jones. So you need to have somebody who's doing that outreach, who's doing the heavy lifting of building that pipeline of getting veteran talent and military spouse talent to apply to your positions. But then I think you can do all that work for naught if you don't train your hiring managers and recruiters to understand how the skills and experiences of those service members and military spouses can apply to your openings. So you have to definitely dedicate some time with an internal training program targeting those recruiters and hiring managers. And I think Darius alluded to one of the programs that we utilize, which is psych armor courses. They're free, they're off the shelf, they're ready to go. They're great training videos for your recruiters and hiring managers to get a better understanding of the culture and the skills and experiences that those that served in the military are bringing to the table for your organization. Bottom line, you need to invest in bringing your hiring managers and your recruiters up to speed so they understand the value that the military community has as employees.
Great. So Dave, I want to move down to you and LMI. And LMI for the last 9 years has been ranked #1 best for vets by Military Times. So could you tell us what are some of your best practices for supporting TSM's transitioning service members into the private sector?
Yeah, I thank you for acknowledging that. And Rick Ferry's here. He handles all of our military recruiting. And again, the value proposition for veterans as it pertains to LMI is pretty straightforward. We're an organization that was started in 1961 by Secretary McNamara to support the warfighter from a logistics perspective. And so mission and service is in our blood. And we provide an opportunity for veterans to continue to serve the mission and to address the mission just with a different uniform on. So that's a pretty powerful message. I think once we are fortunate enough to be able to hire these individuals, the next part is keeping them. And I think one of the three things that we focus on, number one, is a sense of belonging and teamwork. As was mentioned earlier, that's an important part of who veterans are and kind of how they deal with the mission, and something that they're very, very good at. And so we're a project-based organization, and team is very, very important as far as that goes. We also provide mentoring services and, quote, buddy systems to ensure that the transition is easy and complete from people who have been there before, been there, done that type of an activity. We have affinity services or affinity groups like the LVETs, people who can come together. And also, as was mentioned before, service is very important. And we at LMI provide our employees with hours off to continue to provide community service. And so that's how we continue to focus on the team. As we've talked about, first level management is critical. You join a company, but you leave your manager. And we're investing in training our first level managers to understand the needs and requirements of each individual to help them focus on their development and to make sure that they're successful. Finally, flexibility. We embrace teleworking, but more importantly, we embrace working from wherever in the construct of we have a number of individuals, spouses who have whose husbands have been reassigned or wives have been reassigned, and they go with the family but still remain a part of LMI. And so we've introduced that flexibility into the workforce. And the last thing as it pertains to flexibility is we provide employees time off, the reservists between deployment. So prior to deployment, there's some time off to get ready and to be able to spend some time with the family. And upon return, we provide time off as well to ensure that the coming back is everything, all the matters are taken care of so that, again, we can rejoin the workforce. So,
Charles, I would like to stay with you for a minute. Many of you may not know that V3 company, V3 has over 1,700 either enrolled or certified companies. Over 1,100 of those enrolled or certified companies are small to medium employers, which means that they have less than 300 employers. Charles, I would like to stay with you. And how do those small to medium companies stay or become effective in the military recruiting space, because knowing they have limited recruiting resources? Yeah, Charles.
Oh, okay, sorry. I think that you need to partner. The last panel spoke a little bit about the power of partnership. There's a lot of organizations out there. Typically, as a military employment team, you're a small team. You're in a one-man foxhole. Maybe you've got a couple people. So you've got to leverage the partnerships, the organizations that are out there that can help you enhance your outreach to the military community. There are organizations like Hiring Our Heroes. I mentioned training your hiring managers and recruiters. So you join the V3 program. They have a great curriculum to help you get your recruiters and hiring managers up to speed and understand how the skills and experiences of those military members do translate to your job opportunities. So you leverage the power of those partnerships, and you really don't have to pay for them. Most of them are free. I go to Hiring Our Heroes career fairs all the time. I don't pay for anything. We get training through V3. I work with the Northern Virginia Technology Council's Veteran Employment Initiative, and we use their tech, what is it called? Steve, help me out. Tech vets, yeah. So ustechvets.org. It's free access to all the military candidates on monster.com. So there's a lot of resources out there that you can leverage for free that will help you connect with the military community. We participate with the Virginia Transition Assistance Program, providing assistance with resumes, interview preparation, and just connecting with those that are transitioning from the military, and of course installation transition assistance programs. So again, the message here is partner and leverage those partnerships and resources that are out there to help you enhance your outreach and connection to the military community.
And now for a public service break. V3 is one of those free resources.
Yes.
So please enroll and get certified in V3 today. I mentioned earlier with my late night reading that DOD projects that over 21,000 service members will be transitioning from our military installations in Virginia. So we know really returning to civilian life is really a hard job, and it's such a big change. But we'd like to hear from our panelists. What advice would you give our service members in transitioning to the civilian workforce, as they contemplate, what am I going to do now that I'm growing up? What career pathway am I going to follow? So we're going to start with Dave. What advice, Dave, and you are at the ground level with the hiring. You're where the rubber meets the road. So what skills do you find most helpful for a successful transition into the private sector?
I'm taking notes, Dave.
You ready? So there's a couple of things that I think are really important, and we've mentioned it here already. But number one is leadership. There are no better leaders than those that our military produces, and we find that these individuals are able to lead very diverse teams in very difficult times, and that plays extremely well in the company environment, company culture. The teamwork and enterprise thinking is another skill that we really utilize and find. The ability to look at problems through multiple lenses, to be able to not only view how things affect you or your team, but how it affects the organization, how it affects the competitors, those types of things. That thinking is extremely important and very, very valuable. And the final strength I would add is communications. We find that our veterans have a unique ability to communicate information very concisely and clearly, and are able to have really hard conversations, whether it be around employee development, whether it be around issues or concerns with the work that they're doing. The information comes across very clearly and concisely, and there's no hidden agendas in those discussions where you sometimes find in other environments. I would offer probably two things that are a little different in the business world that I would encourage individuals making that transition to consider. One, I refer to as operating in the gray area, and I don't know whether that's the right term, but what I mean by that is the following. The military is very hierarchical and operates by need in very much a command and control environment. Throughout the years, industry has delayered and flattened, and organizations, there's less hierarchy, less command and control, and the headset has to change to getting the job done, not the position, right? And being able to recognize that it doesn't really matter where you fit in the organization, it's what you're assigned to do. Along with that comes the ability to influence and to lead without direct control. So in a lot of our organizations are matrix-based, and you have people who may not necessarily work for you day to day, i.e. you don't do their fitness report. I mean, but they're assigned to you for a brief period of time. And being able to get work done through that process is a skill that's going to require some refinement. It's not natural for a lot of people, and something to work on. The second piece of guidance, for lack of a better word, is around conflict. In industry, conflict is good. And conflict is an important aspect of successful decision-making. The challenge is managing conflict. The challenge is recognizing when two people need to agree to disagree and need to escalate for a decision, or when it's important to get something on the table, even if it's uncomfortable for the leadership of the organization and those types of things. So focusing on those two additional skills will go a long way to leading to success in the transition.
Yeah, great. Rear Admiral Rock, you know the old saying, you only see things from where you sit. And so I've been retired since 1990.